exercise is also to get a gauge in terms of whether the reality is that it's going to be harder and harder for people to get jobs. So I think the information out there, or at least the data out there, tells us that unemployment in Malaysia is low. It's 2.9%. This is a DOSM statistic as at the end of March. So it's a real number. But yet the feeling I get out there is that there is underemployment. So maybe the topic for you all is more underemployment rather than unemployment. And even when you do get a job, is it the job that you want? Is it the pay that you should receive? I think those are the pertinent questions that we will try to address. And we're going to end this with a very useful session by asking Priya a lot of questions. And also Faisal, what you should do to get that job, to improve your opportunities, so some practical tips. But I am going to start with, of course, asking the YB the hard question, right? Always must start with the politician in the room, okay? And I'm gonna, so far I painted kind of a, not such a rosy picture, because I think the reality is also that wages are low. Many graduates, their first salary is at 2,000 ringgit, which is even below the EPF recommended living wage of 3,000. And this is for a single person, so we know life is tough out there. So am I too pessimistic in terms of the state of work? Or are there reasons that we should be more positive?
I think you're too negative. And to all the fellow students and the Malaysian, I think what we are lacking of now is the confidence on ourselves. A lot of Malaysians, they think that we can't do it or we cannot do it better than many other countries. I am telling you here that the rest of the world are so optimistic with Malaysia. They think Malaysia is a good country for them to invest in many sectors. It means from the high-tech sectors and from global business services and so on. Many of them think that Malaysia is a good place or the best place for them to diversify, to have another supply chain, and to have another facilities outside their countries. They are coming to Malaysia. So what they are looking for is a talent. And they believe that Malaysia has a right talent for that. So I think we can have self-confidence that we can fit into all these posts, all these roles very well. So the next question will be, are we meeting the market demand? I think that should be the topic that we need to discuss further today.
So this is in relation to skill mismatch, right? Perhaps because I think our tertiary education levels are very high in this country, about 50% actually. Or at least higher education levels are high. The question is, are we producing the right graduates? But I do want to ask this question, and Priya, are you going to help me here? I think I was going to ask, guess how long before I say the word AI? Because it's the great disruptor, right? And I think we see that. Do you see it being a problem in that AI, especially for financial institutions, or even we know as a fact in the US, the big four accounting firms, they've cut their job hirings by 40%. Is that the case that many graduates will be facing here in Malaysia also? Because they're not really sure how disruptive this technology will be.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for having me here. I think congratulations to everyone. I think you're actually going to enter to the next platform called employment, right? Welcome to the employment world, right? So definitely AI is actually a bigger thing, which is become a threatened for most of the young talent, right? But I would say AI and also HI is two things we need to, human intelligence, yeah? So AI is actually ruling the world, which undeniable. At the same time, human intelligence is equally very, very important, right? So how can we actually develop the human intelligence? This is where the focus needs to be. We shouldn't actually forget about this AI, which we mentioned earlier. It's ruling the world. I think past, I would say about 3-4 years, I think AI is everywhere, right? everywhere. So most important is we upskill ourselves. It's very, very important. At the same time, I think in terms of human intelligence, communications, project management, and all these factors is very important as well. So yes, AI, if you compare 10 years before and now, it is definitely a lot of changes in terms of how AI is actually taken place. So how we can, as a talent, how you can actually make yourself ready for the employment is very important.
Yeah. Okay, we'll come to that also at the end of the session. But Ibrahim, Sani, I haven't forgotten about you. And since YB has brought up skill mismatch, I'm going to cite some data. Because between 2018 and 2023, business and social science graduates increased by 28% cumulatively. This is those some numbers. While employment in relevant fields expanded by only 12%. On the other hand, engineering and information graduates increased by 18%, while sector employment grew by 31%. And that's where the mismatch kind of happens, right? Are we just too slow in adjusting tertiary curriculum, or are students not getting the message out there in terms of what they should be doing for further education?
I have lost faith in MQA. I have lost faith in KPT. Me, personally. And not to say that I've lost faith in the education system, but the way we accredit our students is too slow, so slow to the point of us losing altogether the faith in the system. And this is the strange part, because we are doing all we can in terms of getting the businesses over to invest domestically and foreign companies coming over. There's a lot of advantages in terms of us becoming very competitive in the region, but we are doing a disservice to our young Malaysians in equipping them with the right skill sets. I'll give you a few analogies. The 80% number of engineering in front-end semicon IC design is near zero. The only person or the only agency here, ini bukan nak angkat nak siapa pula, tapi the closest entity right now we have is SIDEC, Selangor, yeah. But ada debat dia.
How many companies are there doing tech design, right?
Exactly, and SIDEC is still far away from what we want SIDEC to be, and SIDEC themselves, Wong, the CEO of SIDEC, is also in agreement that they are too far away from what we want to be in terms of preparing our engineers for front-end chip design. And that's just one slither of engineering. How many of you are even interested in IC design per se?
How many here engineering?
You don't have to be engineering, just interested in the field. Like, I'm interested in hieroglyphs, but of course I'm not trained in Egyptology. But how many of you are interested in this front-end chip design? Front-end, not fabrication, not wafer, not nothing of that sort, not testing. Front-end chip design, just show of hands.
See one gentleman here.
One. Across, say, let's say 100. So that's 1 plus 2. Okay, 2. So 2 out of 100, that's the rate of interest of our Malaysian youth in an industry where the government of Malaysia is spending 1.1 billion ringgit buying IP from ARM. ARM exists in this room as we speak. ARM exists in my watch. There exists two phones of mine. Only 2 out of 100 is even interested in this design. Okay. Next is business graduates or accounting graduates. How many of you are interested in pursuing chartered status like ACA or ICW, ACCA, CIMA, CP Australia? Just show of hands. 1, 2, okay lah, I see about 10 out of 100. Now, I can go on, but you get the flavor. These are the industries that we need in the country. Only 2 out of 100 is interested in, or 10 out of 100 is interested in, and that's why all the market participants, the employers, the entrepreneurs that want to build businesses together, they keep on saying the same things that they've been saying for aeons. I have a lot of jobs, none of them are fit for filling these jobs. This is why I have lost faith in our education system. Because if we continue to teach people in Bachelor of Computer Science, Bachelor of Electrical Engineering, Bachelor of Computer Science and Electrical Engineering, but it's not fitting the needs of the country, or we're teaching people in economics, in business, in finance, in all this, but none of you have a chartered status, then what are we doing at the end of the day?
So how do we solve this problem? And is it sometimes a mindset of individuals also?
No, you have to upskill.
Or is it like also employers being reluctant to take people out of their different fields? So Faisal, you don't get away by not answering any questions. And I will use your own life example. Because Faisal here, of course, is from Cambridge. He did law. But I don't think you ever practiced law, did you? And I also studied law, by the way. I even did the bar, and I never practiced law. I ended up doing fund management, so did he. He, of course, is more lucrative, he has gone on to do bigger things, border pass, chief strategy officer at Sunway. But I would say, I remember in my time, it was a hard to shift. It wasn't so easy, right? So is it employers being reluctant, or should students be more open-minded about what degree they do is only seen as a stepping stone?
Is it on? It is, yeah. No, I think we hit the nail on the head, Ning. Learning is a lifelong process. Just because you did a particular degree, you can't really expect that carries you through for the rest of your life. There are jobs that are going to become very automated
Or redundant?
right? Or no longer commanding the high premium salaries that they used to. Right? That is the reality. So if you feel that, oh right, I did 3 years or 4 years of this and that, and I got a guy pulling out science in 15 minutes, so I think
You've got very little time.
yeah, okay. But yeah, I like this old quote from Bruce Lee, be like water, right? You have containers.
They don't know who Bruce Lee
They
is.
don't, right?
You do?
Okay. Legend. But yeah, just adapt to the economy that you're in, make yourself relevant. Don't be so hard-headed about, I want to do this way or that way. If you have an open heart, open mind, and you have a more sort of client-oriented approach, I think you'll do quite well.
Okay, so Wiley, can I ask you a question though? And this is praising you all again because I think for Selangor, like I mentioned earlier, 43,000 jobs were created in the state between January and September last year.
Last year we created
Yeah.
61,000.
61,000.
61,000.
Yeah. But are they quality jobs? Is the government really doing enough? Is it paying above 3,000? Or is it just a paper, like a nice number that gets headlines?
I always tell my team that the major challenge now is how are we going to break the middle-income trade? How are we going to come out from this challenge? Therefore, for the job opportunities that we are creating in Selangor, it is no longer the ordinary job opportunities. We are very selective in attracting the investment into the Selangor. That's why if you pay a little bit attention on the news about the Selangor government, we are only attracting the high-impact investment into the state because we want to create the high-impact job, high-salary job. As what Ibrahim Sani just pointed out that about the IC Design Park that created by the state government of Selangor. The starting salary is 5,000 and above. In average, all the IC design engineers employed by the IC design company in our IC Design Park, they are getting minimum 5,000 to 6,000 for the starting salary. Some even get higher, like 8,000, 7,000, 8,000. This is a starting pay for the fresh graduate. Therefore, the opportunities are there. It is about how can we grab the opportunities? How can we meet the market demand? And we also notice that the fresh graduate from the engineering school in most of the universities, local universities or private universities in Malaysia, they have a very, very good foundation. So the only challenge here is mismatch with the market demand. Therefore, we also created another training institution, SM, Advanced Semiconductor Academy Malaysia. So we provide the upskilling courses for our fresh graduate. And I would like to share with all of you that the graduate from our academy, the training academy, 100% employed, 100% grabbed by all the semiconductor companies in Malaysia. So this is a challenge, mismatch. how can we provide them the intensive upskilling courses in order for them to meet the market demand? And just now we also touched about the universities. I really touched about the universities that the problem that we are having, your NQA and so on. That's why for the state government, we also realize this challenge and this problem. We are working with many universities, more than 20 universities in the countries. We bring in the private sectors
Is
together.
it enough though? Because I've got some statistics which say that Malaysia compared to, let's say, Singapore and Germany have much less interaction between public, like
Probably
government,
there was in the past.
education,
And in
also
Selangor,
employers.
in Selangor, government, academia, and private, we are working together. So the role of the state government is we are pulling everyone together, we are putting everyone together. Because the university, the academia, it is very important for them to understand the market demand. We do not want them to end up with, when they get the allocation, they buy a tools, they buy a new equipment. But at the end, they do not know what is the need of the market and they just leave it there. So it happens. Now, we don't deny the fact that it happens. So we need to make sure that they can fully utilize the equipment, they can fully utilize the tools in their lab to meet the market demand.
Right. Ibrahim, Sani, sorry to interrupt you, but I want to ask you something about entrepreneurship. Because that is supposed to be under the National Entrepreneurship Policy 2030, right? It's supposed to be a career choice for graduates. So let's say the job market is not great. Do you think that this is a realistic option for many of our students? Or are we, or has that policy failed? Because it's something government has stated.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? I mean, you can't do an all or nothing affair. When I graduated at perhaps the worst time in Malaysian economy, 2008.
No, I beat you. I'm 1998.
97, okay.
That's my time. Oh, okay.
So,
But my starting pay was 2,100 ringgit.
sama lah.
That was in 1997.
But the pay for them is still
Yeah,
2,100.
2,100.
So you can see the
It's a
flavor,
dream.
right? The flavor is, no matter what time you graduate, somebody will try to best you saying that, yeah, your time is worse. And this is constant. Nothing surprising here. Because somebody may quarrel with you guys instead, oh, I graduated in 1989. So it's going to be a bad year for Malaysia as well. 1989, 1998, 2008, now 2026. What I'm trying to say is, when I graduated, I literally delivered food house to house in Kota Damansara. Literally, for 1 year. Until I got a permanent job, working for a small bank. And notwithstanding, while I delivered food, at that time there was no such thing as Grab, yeah. So it was just my little kancil and me just driving around the neighborhood and putting brochures inside the house, getting chased after by the residential area's security guard. And I just, it's a very porous, call this taman perumahan, so I just walked in and out. But the idea here is you got to make do with what you can lah. But the point here is, if you've never thought about, let me do another poll. How many of you are interested in entrepreneurship?
Oh, very decent.
This is the same with every other room that I go into. Now this is the only job that can get a favorable response from the room. More than half of you, I mean, just do a quick poll, right? But more than half of you are interested in entrepreneurship. What's stopping you from doing the entrepreneurship? I mean, that's a question that you have to answer yourself. It's a rhetorical question. So if nothing is, let's say that money is not an object or not an obstacle, right? Would you be doing entrepreneurship? Yes. So why put that limitation on yourself? Because money will always be an obstacle, no matter how rich you get. No matter how rich, I mean, billionaires are now fretting and sweating for them, unable to grow their 1 billion into 2 billion. The dude that is outside that sent me over, it's like, the Grab, is the same thing. Right, he himself is also wondering how his 3,000 ringgit can be made into 6,000 ringgit. He has a wife, kids, whatever at home. So what I'm trying to say is, you can't use that as an excuse for you not to pursue your ambition on entrepreneurship. But that doesn't mean that you stop pursuing your professional status or your education or your upskilling or your reskilling. This is why everybody has to jump in all at once. like that movie, what? Everything, everywhere, all at once. It truly is. Or else you're going to be suffering, and the person that is beside you that is not going to see this as an obstacle and pursue their goals will win, and you won't.
Okay, so let's come to the practical part of the session, right? Because we've saying there are many opportunities out there, what you make out of it. But really, what are the skills that employers really measure? Because I think here everyone's going to be a graduate, everybody's going to get a degree. So what are the differentiating factors? Faisal, are there any other than just your degree?
I mean, frankly, your degree becomes irrelevant very, very quickly, right?
After the first job, almost, right?
After the first job, right? If you're still harping over what you did 5, 10, 20 years ago, then you're in trouble, mate, right? What you should be doing is continuously learning, and it goes back to that, right? And about this whole mismatch thing, I've got friends, colleagues who did chemical engineering or in finance and banking now. I've got people who did accountancy who are doing something completely different. The mismatch isn't really the defining factor. It comes down to attitude, right? I think one of the big lies that you're told at university, you study hard, you work hard, you get your A's, and you're going to do well in the workplace. That's not quite right, right? There's aptitude, but attitude matters a whole lot more. In the age of automation is how you interact with other human beings that are going to be make or break.
So the EQ is very, very important in everything.
Extremely phenomenally important.
So Priya, what advice can you give these students in terms of how to stand out when in their CV or during the interview?
Yeah, I think in terms of the CV, right, again, about AI, you can just go into the AI, you can create a CV, right, ChatGPT.
Looking beautiful, but...
Yeah, beautifully. But I think the challenging part is actually when you are sitting for the interview, right? So I think that is a practical part, how you are really stand up in terms of your communication and what you have done and how you are actually selling yourself, right, during the interview is very, very important. So I think this is where, I think it's a personal experience for me. I think, for example, we actually advertise for digital executive, for example, right? So we received about 100 CVs, right? So we shortlisted. When we actually call them for an interview, to be very honest, what is written in the CV, which is generated by AI, versus the practical part when they are answering is totally two different things. Yeah. So what you actually put it in the CV, it should portray yourself during the interview, which is very, very important. Yeah. And at the same time, I think the communication, how you can actually convince them, what kind of project that you have done, right? That's all actually, play a very important part during the interview, right? So that's how you can actually stand out.
Do you think also, because there's this question here, right? This is a rather unusual question. I'm going to ask it. Do you think at the same time while we're discussing employment and we're saying, you need to get upskilled, you need to think about your career path, make sure that you constantly learn, be open-minded about job opportunities. But someone here asked, do you think universities today are becoming too focused on producing industry-ready graduates? I mean, what should be the purpose of studying at university? Faisal, you spend the most time. Ibrahim, Sani also wants to answer this.
Yeah, the university is not even preparing grads for industry. That's what I'm trying to point out. Because if it is, then we wouldn't have youth unemployment rate of 10.2%. The number that you quoted is actually 15 to 30 years old. But if you zoom in just to a narrow band of, let's say, 20 to 25, Blossom numbers show that 10% are unemployed, and underemployment is unmeasured. So we don't know how many people are currently being underemployed. So yes, to even assume or presume that universities are preparing graduates for industry ready is not even correct. So that's I just want to point that out.
Faisal, you have to say something?
Not much to add, really. I mean, university education used to be very scarce. in the 80s and 90s compared to today. Throw a rock, you'll hit a graduate today, right? So the competition has been amped up, and as a result, you have to differentiate yourself in companies.
Yeah. YB question here, you probably because you represent the government, but it's not really a government question, but closest. So does GLC dominance distort the labour market by absorbing up top talent and capital? And in a way, because of the nature of Malaysia's economy, which is still very old economy, no disrespect to Selangor and what they're trying to do, we're still very heavy in the old economy. And in that way, there isn't that job creation that we would ideally like to see.
You're talking about GLC. I don't really get your questions.
Yeah, is the GLC kind of just distorting the job market also?
Not really, because you look at the job market in Selangor particularly, it is more on the private driven. It is not so much on the government driven. No, it is a private driven. And besides the engineering field, many of you may not aware that Selangor is becoming the global business services hub. There are more and more regional company, the international company, they are moving their regional HQ or a department to Selangor. In Sunway, for example, Sunway, Shell, they are Shell, Roche Pharmaceuticals, and many others, they are moving to Sunway because comparatively, Malaysia, particularly Selangor, first, we can provide the talent that they need. Second is the operating cost is still relatively cheaper than Singapore. So a lot of times that we tend to compare with a country like Singapore. We do not need to compare Singapore. Singapore has a different market, different sectors, and in certain sectors they are too far for us to compare them. Although we do not need to look at Singapore as our competitors. We can never fight with Singapore in certain areas and certain sectors. So that is not our main target. In fact, we should make Selangor as a talent hub for the Southeast Asia, for the ASEAN countries. Can we do it or not? I believe we can, with the number of universities that we have, with the quality of the graduate that we have, with a good foundation. Of course, we match with the market demand. And with the multilingual skills that we have here, and with the cost of operating business and the stability of the policies and government that we have, compared with other countries in Southeast Asia, we can make Selangor a talent hub for this region. Put Singapore aside. Singapore has their own core market, niche market. We can make Selangor the talent hub. And this is the direction for the state government.
All right, I've been told I've run out of time. Am I correct? 5? Yes? The eager student kind of gives me that look. Sorry? Oh, Q&A. We've been going through the Q&A actually. Okay. All right. So I have in that Q&A 20 minutes, I want to go one by one to each of y'all to ask y'all, in terms of just general advice, what do you want to tell the audience today? Because I think that we are definitely in the age of disruption, where employers may be holding back with hiring. I think there's no denying that, right? And because companies themselves are experimenting with new technology, and they're thinking, I'm not going to spend the money and hire new graduates, which I eventually don't need. Like I highlighted, right, the Big Four cutting employment by 40% in the US. I'm sure it's happening in Malaysia. But we want to end on an optimistic note. So Faisal, what are the words of wisdom you have for these bright-eyed, soon-to-graduate students in the room?
Can I just be curious, right? Ask questions. Look at this poster that's in front of us right now. If you're the type who says, how can no money law sponsor this event? Or even Famaniaga for that matter, right? They're a negative equity right now.
PN17, but I think they're out.
Yeah, okay, well done, Famaniaga. I mean, it's stuff like that, right? Just be inquisitive, curious, dig deeper, peel the onions that other people don't want to peel. And that's a very attractive trait to have at work.
I think the other thing I did notice over my time when I was at BFM, and we had a lot of interns, Malaysians tend to be very scared to ask questions. And if there's any tip I can tell you, there are no dumb questions. Have a curious mind. I'm not sure why people are so nervous, but it's okay. And also learn to read the room. the reading of the room is a skill that is going to be so useful. YB, words of advice? Don't join politics or join politics? Yeah.
I'm the EAE grade. I did not do politics in my universities.
We know you did engineering, but you ended up in politics.
Okay, that's how we touch about AI. My advice to all of you is don't be afraid of AI. When you cannot beat them, join them. So, I'm very sure that all of us here use ChatGPT, use Gemini every day. So AI is part of our life now. So how far can AI go? Nobody can tell. Even if you ask Jason Wong, I don't think he has an answer for you. How far can AI go? And we are only at the beginning of the AI cycles. At the beginning. So AI can do a lot of things that out of our imaginations. So don't be afraid of it. So, but we got to make sure that we use it in the proper way. And now AI, if you talk about AI ChatGPT, I think that is too basic already. Everyone is talking about AI agent now. How can we make AI do the things on itself? Autonomous. We are talking about autonomous. So in the near future, probably a year or two, AI agent will be communicating with AI agent. So agent will be working together with agent without the control or interference from the human. So that is probably the near future of AI. So we got to think of how can we make a full use of this AI as a tool to make our job more to improve the efficiencies of our job and to make our life better. Don't be afraid of AI. If you want to avoid using AI or involved in this AI technology, I don't think we can have a good life in the future.
Yeah, as while you was going through that, I was wondering whether I want to disclose. But I am using OpenClaw, using Claude. I bought a Mac Mini specifically to run the servers. I have Notion Premium, I have Slack Premium. I gave my agent its own email. Now I'm emailing to my AI agent, managing, I call them Mark, I guess. So, because you market, get it? Market. And then, the point here is, I'm going to lose out. I'm going to lose out to people that are using agentic AI. So I don't want to be on the losing side. Recalling back to 2008, how many of you are born after 2008?
I think the whole room is born.
Before 2008? Anybody?
How many? Yeah.
Yeah, okay, alright. So around the time that you were born, I was trying to figure out how to use WordPress, how to play around with CSS, how to set up domain name servers. GoDaddy.com was my favorite website. So those were those days, right? So this is this today. The point here is, say for instance, my secretary, the office, Yayasan Peneraju secretary, she's 59, she's going to retire soon. And HR was asking me, do we even have the money for a secretarial post, the box inside the org chart? It's going to be cheap. Ibrahim, no problem, ni RM3,000 je. I cakap, yeah, but the box can be saved up for an executive for operations, for instance. That was the debate, right? Because rather than have a secretary, rather just get that for the person that can actually do the actual job, operation side. We always are in need of people that can run ops, right? So looks like when the secretary retires, when she's 60, it's done. You don't need one. Drivers get completely off the table. Grab, yeah, that's off. When I first came in, there were 2 boxes made reserved for special officer and personal assistant for Ketua Agency. I was like, wow, rated for senior executive for AVP level, maknanya dia gaji around 6,000 to 10,000. So we made away with 2 boxes that is ranging around 8,000, that's 16,000 ringgit per month saved. What I'm trying to tell you is, you got to skill up every day without fail and without losing that perseverance and determination. So how much of upskilling and reskilling are you doing even today while you are an undergrad? That is a question that you need to ponder for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's a two thing we need to look into in terms of employer, right? I think still they are using 1996 hiring rules to hire the 2026 talent. Yeah. Yeah.
So things haven't changed.
Yeah, haven't changed.
And what are those 1996 rules?
That means you still actually shortlisting by yourself. I think you can just put it into AI that will actually do shortlisting, because the world is going towards that, right? That one thing. And also in terms of the employees, the talents, I think as what actually Ibrahim Sani mentioned, right? I think the patience, perseverance is very, very important, because we feel that the fresh graduates, when they join the organization, they are actually waiting to be fed or provided everything. I think the Gen Z leaders, the Gen Y, X leaders are actually not there to actually, to coach you or mentor you. You have to actually go and upskill yourself. You need to reskill yourself is very, very important. And also stay in an organization for at least a year. What I have actually seen, most talent, they come, probably they stay only for 3 months. After that, they leave. And then again, they go and join another organization. And then I think they don't really have the patience to, be there and learn. So that is very important as well. Unless you want to be an entrepreneur, you wanted to start a business, that works, right? Employment, especially when you join employment, you need to actually learn. You need at least 6 months to understand the culture, understand the organization, the flow. Then you can actually, go through the career path.
Okay, I see some questions related to upskilling, and maybe Ibrahim Sani, you want to answer this, because there are a few related to the fact that students might have no resources, because sometimes they think it takes money, and the other one is of course time, because they're in academic studies, and I remember I was always bogged down by something or other, right? So what tips can you give them whereby they can still upskill within what is available to them?
It's a very good question, and I think the more resourceful you are, the more you realize that everything is already there online, everything. The only reason why you need to pay for an upskilling course is for you to graduate with a certification of that particular upskilling.
Yes.
To get that said knowledge without any certification, quite frankly, can be free of charge. So I know every single step that you take will always be purposeful, and it may cost money along the way, but if you really want to learn something, it's going to be free.
Maybe this is an interesting question, and I think this is somewhat related to wages, right? Because Malaysia wages are still about 2,000, very low for graduates. There's a question here whether, in the first place, the government should tighten academic standards to just reduce the supply of graduates, because 50% of people are graduate. And then there would be an actual better value, right? Because at the end of the day, it's a bit of demand and supply. And let's face it, employers, they always want better ROE. It's profit that counts. So if they can afford to pay less, they will. Why? Government policy? Tough questions for the politician.
Yeah.
Sitting there quietly though.
I totally agree that we need to produce the quality graduate. Yeah. We should produce a quality graduate. But if you are deciding which sector should you venture in for your career prospect or to decide your future career, so which sector So I think we got to come into a very practical questions. My advice is look for the sectors where the money is. Where is the money is now in the market? In the semiconductors, in the AI, in the aerospace, and many more. So we got to go to all these sectors, because all these sectors, their money, they are having a shortage of talent. If you can meet their demand, you can get a very good salary for all these sectors. So this is my advice to all the to all the young students here.
But at the same time, I mean, some of them have already chosen their degrees. What do they do?
I don't think it is too late. For example, I believe most of the students here are from the economics or the business admins. I think this is also the important courses that we cannot replace fully by AI. We still need the HR officers like Priya. And yes, true. We still need the economics. And most importantly, just now I shared with all of you that in Selangor, we are becoming the global business services hub. And all these global business services, they may move their legal department to Selangor. They may consider to move their accounts department to Selangor, HR department, IT department, and all those require a lot of talent, and they can afford to pay higher than other industries because they are servicing the international customers. So these are the sectors that we can seriously think about it, and this is also the responsibility as a government to bring in the high impact investment or the high impact company into Selangor. So because we want to offer a better job opportunities, a better salary to our young graduates, we do not want them to end up like what we were getting in the 90s or in 2008. My starting pay was 2001. That was 30 years ago. 2001. And today, there are still many young graduates. They are telling me that they are getting about this salary. And this cannot be accepted. It is not acceptable at all. So we want to create more high-impact job and high-salary job for our young graduates.
I might weigh into that and back what Zihan is saying. In the US right now, nursing is a six-figure job because of shortages in the industry, right? And what you're seeing right now, everyone wants to get into investment banking or finance or whatever it is. They are cycles. In 2008, you don't want to be in finance, right? That was like the worst job to be in. It was like a nuclear winter back then. You roll back the clock a little further to post-World War II, the hottest job in town was actually US Steel, right? If you had a job at US Steel, every parent would want to marry their daughter to you, right? So, but that's what we're looking at. We're looking at economic cycles, right? So that's, I think, back to what Ibrahim's saying and back to what Zian's saying. You've got to be adaptive. Look at where the opportunities are. Don't be so rigid about, I want to do this, I want to do that. You've got to put food on the table. That's the primary thing, right? So, yeah.
Okay, Ibrahim, Sani, there's a funny question here. It's a big one that's going to put you on the spot. If you were the education minister, what would you do? Because you said you didn't have confidence in it, and somebody asked, one of the students asked this question, not me.
Nanti kita tanya YB bila election.
No, but it's asked about you.
It's like a taboo. When is election? Everywhere I go, when is election? My God.
We'll ask YB that later.
No, the best part is good. YB don't know. That's the best part. If I'm the education minister, I think the first thing we need to combine the Ministry of Science and Technology with the Ministry of Higher Education. That's the first thing we need to do. Second is we need to develop the K-12 education plus preschool. So P12, that's the idea. Because you can't start standard 1 with half of the class can read, the other half is only now starting to get familiar with alphabets. So the moment you box these two situations, then you understand that you can do the triple helix model, or at least the quadruple helix model at the higher education plus science and technology. That's the key part. That's for the what do you call this? The higher education. Because I think STEM is passé. It's like
STEM is passive.
It's passive. Right
The
now,
STEM that we know.
the STEM that we know,
Mm,
yeah,
it's
science,
passive.
technology, engineering, mathematics. It's like, yeah lah. It's like you must know. Now it's more. Now it's applied engineering, no longer engineering. Dulu we need civil engineers because we literally need to build the roads. Now we need applied engineering because so what if you know engineering? You're nothing if you don't know anything about semiconductors, for instance, right? And then with semiconductor, you have to pick a specialization, front end, back end, design. Which one you want? Right? All needed, huh? All needed. Same like finance, right? Bachelor of Accounting. It's too late, too slow already. Bachelor of Accounting. Really, you graduate at 25 with no chartered status. You're useless to everyone, including yourself. Right? You are. Right now there's a fast track. Everybody wants to do ACCA, everybody wants to do ICAW. Now MIPA is going to take back the what call it, post-STM pathway. 21 years old, straight away chartered accountant. Immediately I trust you to sign off on accounts. Immediately, 21. If you use my pathway, 21, especially with me repeating my papers and all that, baru first year in UIA, zaman dulu. It's too slow. Too slow. So we need application for universities. And then for K-12 or P-12, from preschool all the way to year 12, whatever you want to call it, we have to have one testing lah. Tak boleh this year ada, and then testing PMR, and then Form 5, and then like, oh, budak-budak kena buat the PBSM, kalau tak boleh nak ni lah, walaupun the parents are B40, kelang kabut nak find the boot. You know boot, tell you is the PBSM book with the besi inside, is 120 ringgit. Hey, if your parents earning 3,000 ringgit,
That's a lot of money.
it's a lot of money percentage-wise. You know, come on, man. This is what I mean. People are getting frustrated with the education system, and the best part is everybody seems to have some idea on how to do education. Whatever it is, this is a signal of what, apa yang ada sedia ada is not enough. This is the thing. If you go to a restaurant, there's 10 people there, everybody wants something else. That means you're at the wrong restaurant. That's what I'm saying. Thanks.
Mixed career, right, Sani? Mixed career. Do you
But you must go,
Yeah. I've got a question though for YB and maybe in general. How many of y'all actually out there use the active labour market policies that the government has? So what I'm talking about, all those online job and internship search platforms that the government has. And this is why I was shocked by how many there are. There's My Future Jobs by Shou, great. We've got Graduate Employability Management portal by MOHE. We've got MyMix by Talent Corp. We've got different online training programs offered by HRD Corp, SOXO, and DEC. How many of y'all use this? One. And only one. Is this because y'all don't know it exists, or is it very confusing? And it's not that the government doesn't have these exist. So why is it the case? I'm curious. Why do you think it's because it's just too complicated? We're not telling the students of the availability of these programs? So the government is concerned. It has always had issues about underemployment since the first Malaysia plan, and has come up with many programs. But are we drowning in confusion for them?
Yes, you're right that these are some of the initiatives from the government, be it from the federal or the state government, to help our people to get the job that they want to. But another problem that we as a Malaysian has is we are too complacent. Everything, we are hoping that we can wait for the government to do something for us, but when the government started with the initiative, all of us don't bother. So this is a key problem that we are having in our society. So we need to have the initiative as well to tell the government what you need. And when we started with something, you got to participate, you got to take part in it to make it more effective.
But is it
So
because it's so too much duplication and confusion?
Yes, that part also agree. There are too many. If we can consolidate it, it will be more impactful. For example, for the job fair that we conducted under the state government last year during the semiconductor expo, we conducted a job fair for the semiconductors sectors, and there were 3,000 students from all over the country attended. They were hoping to get a good job from these sectors, And the people who attended this job fair were 5,000, 3,000 students and 2,000 parents. Parents were together with them for the job interview. I do not know whether there is a good approach or not, but
Sorry, you mean the parents came?
the parents, of course, we stopped the parents from entering into the room for the interview, but they accompanied their children for the
Don't
interview.
bring your parents for interviews.
Don't bring your parents to interview. So,
Why? I don't know, but yeah, don't bring your parents. Don't allow them. But
so the parents were very concerned that whether their son or their daughter can get a good job or not. So they were concerned. So in fact, again, there are a lot of opportunities out there. Don't wait and don't wait to be spoon-fed. Just take a little initiative, look around, attend the job fair, and take part. I'm very sure that you will be able to find a dream job that you have in mind.
okay, I'm going to be the cynic here. Sometimes a dream job doesn't happen straight away. Okay, you've got to work on it. YB and I are same age. I joined the workforce in 1998 during the financial crisis. It was so bad. The ringgit to the US dollar was 5, 6. The pound was 7.
The interest,
Interest rate was 13,
the housing loan
14%.
interest. I bought my first house
13,
in
14%?
1999. The interest rate I was paying was 14%. 14%.
Okay, Ibrahim Sani's like, yeah, you old dudes always say the worst time is your time. But the point is, sometimes the path to where you want to go takes a while, right? You have to let the economic cycle recover. But in the meantime, don't waste any opportunity to upskill. Which is my question for you, Ibrahim Sani. What are the skills needed to future-proof oneself? Other than constantly learning.
The My Future Skills Talent Council and the Talent Corp as well as Yayasan Peneraju Talent Future Skills. The 5 areas that is needed is front-end chip design, the chartered accounting, what do you call this? Cyber security. It's always empty, by the way. Cyber security, yeah. Education, as in Bachelor of Education or teaching across all levels. Maknanya how to be a teacher or how to be a lecturer. And the last, which is surprising, is what do you call this? Humanities or community development. As in socioeconomic efforts and how to bring up the grassroots, especially from places like Sabah and Sarawak. So there has to be a system on how you can build communities there. So these are the 5 areas that is quite interesting if you guys pursue not just an upskilling environment here, but perhaps even a career in these kind of areas. I think you're off to a good start.
I have one more tip. Silver economy. Yes, we are an aging population. If you look around, you will notice that is actually a sector to pay attention to, and no robot can replace the human part of looking after people in the silver economy and the aspects of it, like nursing,
So
right?
there's another sector that we are pushing, the care economy.
Yes.
In Selangor, care economy.
So that's important, right? Okay, I think we still have time, and I've got some questions on Slido, but I also want to do it a bit more interactive. Anybody here got questions? Put up your hands, don't be shy. This is the old-fashioned way of you standing up and asking the question. Come on. All right, one question there, starting with you. Let's do it old schools.
Hi everyone, and I'll say before I start, thank you, Shawnee. When I hear your voice first, I think like I've heard this somewhere before, but it is usually when I was driving to Rembau. So I realized that you are the one who greet all the ministers and CEO on the FM, so thank you for that.
I used to, I'm no longer there. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But thank you for listening, and I hope you still listen to BFM. But question for the panelists?
Alright, Mr. Ibrahim Sani, to give you the preface, I am the YP, one of your scholars. I do SCCA in UP there, the newly custom SCCA apprentice. So SCCA is very fast, and the total years that it took for you to end it is 3.5 years, meaning that you'll be graduating at worst late 21, at best late 21, and you'll be graduating with a master's degree equivalent certificate, which usually will be will be received at 26, more or less. But I'm asking you, we are relatively quite quick, but absolutely we are normal to compare with the Western and the developed nations. So the RMK 13 plan or the other national plan had laid out the goal to graduate students from high schools and from primary schools earlier, meaning that to get in school and go out earlier, which is at age 6, if I had called it correctly. So do you think that you as the Yayasan Peneraju CEO should lay out the policy to make sure all these ICCA graduates have an internship experience? Because me personally, sir, I have to say to you that when I am competing with people to go to the workforce, yes, I'm good. I'm great compared with the UIE, those who have bachelor in accounting. But I do not have any prior experience. So given that we will be graduating, if, for example, Peneraju will still exist and you are the CEO, well, I don't think so. But if you were to still serving as Peneraju, do you think that at that time they will be graduating at late 20?
Okay, I'm gonna ask you to hurry up the question.
All right.
Yeah, I'll answer quickly as well. If you take up ACCA to become an accountant, you're off to a poor start. You're off to a bad start. Don't take up ACCA so that you can end up being an accountant. You take up something like ACCA or ICAW or even CMA, CTA, whatever, is because for you to understand the mechanics of business and economics and finance, and then you can pivot out and do something else with your life. There's a reason for this. Because jobs in the auditing and assurance space is going to dry up very fast. It hasn't come to Malaysia yet. Right now, 95% of Yayasan Peneraju scholars will get a placement before graduating. But that number will soon change because we're quite saturated soon. Okay, that's number one. Number two, you still need 3 years of prior experience before you are qualified as a full member of ACCA. You're going to be called an ACCA affiliate, so you still need some form of auditing job, and that's good because my auditing job was at a double shop lot house in Jalan Tun Fuad dekat Taman Tun. My salary, I haven't mentioned it yet, was 1,300 ringgit as an audit executive. Right now it's illegal to do that, but dulu boleh. 1,300. Parking at Taman Tun monthly is already 700 ringgit. Chowding. Yes, I mean, BFM is that. Yeah. So can you imagine? Tu belum makan lagi, but never mind. My point here is you have to struggle. That's a reality that all of you need to be facing. But when you study something in the sense economics or finance or whatever, try and pivot out as soon as you can, but get the qualification first. So that is the main point. Finally, skate to where the puck will be, right? So if you know Malaysia is going to pivot out towards those kind of areas that I spoke of earlier, and use that skill set today, then pivot that way. Take a look at my own career, right? I mean, I did government, I'm doing government, I was in PFM, I did the TV, I did all this. All this because my baseline was finance, right? I knew ACCA, sorry, I failed so many ACCA papers, that's why I did CIMA, senang sikit. So CIMA gave me a good foundation for me to pivot out and skate out to all the other areas that I need to go to. So that is an area of concern for you guys. Use the base knowledge that you have right now, this academic program that you have, economics and all this, learn how to calculate GDP and all that. That's very, very important, right? So how are you going to use that and apply what you have learned to pivot to something that the country needs?
Okay, any other questions? There was one. Yes, at the top there. Make it a quick question, please.
Hello, I'll just make this real quick. So, I want to rewind back to the topic of we are an aging population and that jobs like nursing is something we should look into, right? I myself was a nurse and I did a diploma in nursing, and I love that field actually about years ago. Then I joined economics. I'm actually a committee member for UMES. So my question goes back to, if nursing is a career that is highly sought after, we can see a lot of hospitals like Sunway offering scholarships, Sunway, Darby, Asunta. Why are nurses leaving Malaysia to work in other countries? We can see Singapore, for example, Saudi, Australia. So when are we going to pay the Malaysian nurses the wages they deserve so that they don't leave Malaysia to go work abroad. And yeah, it rewinds back to the
It's a
question
brain
of
issue, right? And applies
Yes.
to not only nursing, almost every career, whether it's lawyers, engineers, accountants. But Faisal, do you have a solution for this? When are we going to start?
I'll be absolutely mercenary. Again, I think one of the advices now is follow the money, right? The reason why they're going to Singapore is because the wages triple when they go to Singapore. The reason why they go over after that to the Middle East is the wages triple. Right? That's why they go to Australia, they go to the UK, etc. And I see nothing wrong with that. What will happen in Malaysia is that our private hospitals will have to eventually pay more, and I think you'll see Sunway, the pay is going up steadily over the past few years, and that's market forces at work, right? And I think before we started the forum, we talked about the birth rate in Malaysia. It's shocking, right? I think Malaysian Chinese, they have like 0.8 kids per female. That is lower than Singapore, that's lower than mainland China, that's lower than even Japan, who we make fun of because their adult diapers outsell baby diapers. Right? And I don't see enough from the political parties in Malaysia, DAP and MC. But by the way, my wife is Chinese, so that's why and I'm also 31% Chinese, so it's something close to my heart as well, right? But we don't see, you know what was the birth rate for Malaysian Chinese at Merdeka? 1957, guess, anyone? Who? From Ibrahim, it was actually 7.4. Everybody has that face until they think of their family's portrait, you know, the landscape portrait where it looks like a bunch of debt collectors, you know, like on road. And then they realize actually, yeah, families have been a lot bigger now. What's the big implication? Silver economy is going to be a very important bit, but that's also going to cause a lot of economic dislocation. Good thing is your property prices are probably going to come down because there are fewer people buying stuff, right? And one last thing I'd say, never waste a good crisis, right? Zihan had to pay, 13-14% interest, right? But the home that he bought, I bet you, was a lot more affordable than what it is today. Listening to Scott Galloway on a podcast, he made an excellent point. Every time there's an economic crisis, asset prices correct. And that gives young people an opportunity to buy a house, start a business, right? And all these bailouts that we're seeing from the government actually benefits the old folks, not the young folks, right? So if we are looking at Hormuz in the eye, and some of you may think, wow, horrible economy, woe is me, blah, blah, blah. Also consider the opportunity that it's going to present, right? So I think the Chinese character for danger has two components. One of it is, was it chaos, and the other one's opportunity. Don't quote me on that, I'm horrible at these things. But that's the whole point, right? Be like water, look at the situation, be an opportunist. If you've got to go to the Middle East and become a nurse, you go for it, girl, right? Or Singapore or Australia, that's where the opportunities are. And you are an international citizen. You can go abroad and work if you have to. That'll be an excellent experience as well.
Actually, Wai Ming, I know you said
Can I
something
add a
about
bit,
you said
yes.
something about this at the
Right.
semiconductor session the other day, right?
Yeah.
So tell us about your views on
We cannot stop our talent, Malaysian, from going abroad to seek for a higher salary in other countries. The easiest target for Singapore is Malaysian talent. So we can't stop them because they will be getting 3 times higher. Over here, we are paying 5,000 ringgit for the IC design engineers. Over there, they are paying 5,000 Sing dollar. So you'll be getting 3 times more. Therefore, for my position, or my view is we can never stop Malaysian from going abroad to seek for a higher salary. But one thing that you all must remind yourself is we got to balance the quality of the life and the salary that we will be getting, and expenses that you will be spending abroad. In Singapore or in Saudi, the expenses, the rental everything is so much higher than what you are paying here. So that you got to strike a balance. So which is a priority? You want to earn the quick money, to have a very normal life abroad, to have a big saving. It depends. Depends on what you are looking at. If you want to strike a balance, you want to be near enough to your family. And I can tell all of you that if you ever live abroad, you will agree with me that Malaysia is still the best country in the world to live with. So for our IC design park, we're starting to see the foreign talents. They are coming back to work in the IC design park. We have a company called VROC. The founder is a Malaysian, Dr. Saleh Ahmad. I flew to Paris for 1 day to convince him to come back to set up his company in our IC design park. And eventually, he committed, he came back. And he told me that he has been waiting for this opportunity for 20 over years. He need a platform. He need a platform to come home. So now he's back. He's back and set up a new IC design company in our IC design park. So as a government, we got to provide a right platform for all these talent working abroad. And instead of looking or keep arguing, discussing about brain drain that we are facing today, I would rather that we put a real focus, and including for Talent Corp, we put a real focus in the brain circulations. What can you bring home? If you are working abroad, you learn the latest technology, you learn the best thing outside Malaysia, and what can you bring home to help our country to develop further? And as a government, we must ensure that we are connected to this group of people in overseas. Therefore, when I'm traveling, I'll always spend time with Malaysian diaspora working or studying abroad. At least we got to let them know what we are doing for them. So Malaysians get the opportunity waiting for them to come home to serve the countries. If they cannot come home because they built a family in overseas, but with the networking that they have, they can link us to the right channel, to the right people. So this is why we are moving so fast in SELECT. Because we are making a full use of Malaysian working abroad to connect us to the right people, to the right channel.
Okay, unfortunately, we run out of...
Serving the country.
Okay, YB always has the last word, but unfortunately, we have run out of time. I do want to thank our panelists today. We, of course, had YB Ng Zihan, Selangor Exco for Investment, Trade and Mobility, Ibrahim Sani, CEO of Yayasan Peneraju, Priya Subramaniam, HRA Director of AICB Group, and Faisal Ariff, Chief Strategy Officer of Sunway Group. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you once again to our esteemed panelists and moderator. I'm sure it was an insightful and informative session for everyone here today. Now, let's welcome Ms. Young Hao Wei, the Director of UMES 2026, to present the token of appreciation to each of our panelists and moderators. First, we would like to give our sincere thanks and token of appreciation to Ms. Priya Subramaniam.
Next, we would like to present the token of appreciation to Mr. Ibrahim Sani.
We would now like to express our heartfelt gratitude to YB Ng Zihan.
Next, we are honored to present this token of appreciation to Mr. Faisal Ariff.
Our sincere appreciation goes to our moderator, Ms. Wong, Shou, Ning. To our panel, please come forward for a group photo. Smile on the count of 3, 2,